people put themselves down. They belittle themselves. When people put themselves out and they belittle themselves, besides for everything else, they're lying. Besides for everything else, it's just not true. You're not as bad as you make yourself. You know, one of the easiest things in the world is to paint the world in blacks and whites. So I'm either white or black. I'm either perfect or terrible. And people have a tendency to do that. People with low self-esteem have a tendency to do that, especially young people. I always tell you the same story. I have a son, should live and be well, who was right after his bar mitzvah. Mamish, was weeks after his bar mitzvah, a month after the mitzvah. And he laned. And I put a lot of koiches into his lane, and he's a very good Baal Koida. And he laid an egg. He didn't do well. With Shmini Atzeret, I'll never forget it. When we walked out of shul after that lady, he was so broken. He was so humiliated. He says, I'm never letting. We walked out for Yizkir. I remember it. Because Shmini Atzeret used to say Yizkir. And Baruch Hashem, I have parents. So we walked out together. He was very upset. So I said to him, on a scale of 1 to 10, how poorly did you do? He said, 0. So I said to him, you got every trop wrong and every diktuk wrong? No. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what'd you get? I got a 2. I said, so 2 out of 10 were right and 8 out of 10 were wrong? So I showed him, honestly, he got a 7 out of a 10, or even an 8 out of 10. But if you're correct at every 4th word, it's also a lot. So I told him, anybody who says that on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 10 or a 0 is a liar. And they know it. That's what a shuffle is. It's just easier to belittle yourself than to compete, really. That's what it comes down to. Psychologically, that's what it is. And it's a midah, it's not a good thing. A person who puts himself down, there's a place for that in avodah for the biggest tzaddikim. But for the rest of us, it's a cop-out in a way. An honor of a humble person is not a shuffle. Shaf means a person who puts himself down. An onav is a person who knows who he is. And he knows that in this way and in this way and this way he's equal to or better than other people. What makes him humble is he doesn't say I did. He said God gave it to me. Okay? Mikol mokem, nevertheless, the person does not become arrogant and conceited because of this, klavakal at all. Because that person knows and understands and appreciates and has internalized that whatever he or she has was given to him by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He makes a simple calculation. If these same strengths are given to somebody else, that other person would be as great as he. And possibly, if that other person had the character traits that he or she was given, from nature, from birth, that person through work would reach even a higher level. So the first level, you know this. If you've been around Torah and you've learned any Pirkei Avos, you know that that's how you find a humble person. A humble person is not a person who puts himself down. A humble person who says, the gifts that I have, Hashem gave me.
It's the lowest level?
This is the lowest level. And therefore, he doesn't walk around saying, I'm better than everybody else, even though he is. Because he's not the reason he's better. The Eibush is the reason he's better. So his being better means he has more obligation. And it's a mindset that begins, again, psychologically, the way you have to define it is, you cannot be humble and be busy thinking all day about yourself. You got to think about what you have to do, not about you. Because thinking about yourself means I'm stuck inside myself. It's gaiva. It's arrogance. And it doesn't matter why it is. A lot of people who are by the gaiva are that way because of low self-esteem. Gaiva is a defense mechanism. People who boast, people who show off, people who put themselves up by putting other people down, they're not pleasant to be around, but usually it's not coming from a strength in them, it's coming from a weakness, it's coming from cowardice. It's easier to be good by putting somebody else down than to actually work on yourself. It's gaiva. This person doesn't do that. He simply knows his place, knows who he is, knows what God gave him, and knows his place. He's not busy with himself. It's a classic interpretation of humility.